Lanka will need to review its current labour laws if it seeks to attract foreign investment for the country's industries and reach its maritime and financial hub status. That's the view of former director of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, Professor Ajantha Dharmasiri. Speaking to Indivari Amwatha on our current affairs program at HydePark on Ada Derana 24, Professor Dharmasiri added that investors may not consider the prospect of dealing with labour laws heavily balanced against employers as favourable, and that changes need to be made to root out the archaic and bring about fresh modern outlook.
Sri Lanka has set itself a lofty development target of 7% by 2025. By that time, it also aims to take the migration from middle income to upper middle income country, earning $30 billion in exports every year. However, with the government looking to lay out the red carpet for foreign direct investment in the financial, industrial, commercial and residential sectors through the Colombo Port City project, what will it take for investors to look at Sri Lanka with a bit more optimism? Speaking to Indivari Amwatha on our current affairs program at HydePark on Ada Derana 24, Professor Ajantha Dharmasiri of the Postgraduate Institute of Management at the Sri Javaradhanapura University says that it should start with balancing the scales in terms of Sri Lanka's labour laws.
When we talk about development, we have big investments in the country, for example, the port city. We have a separate, a new city in the making outside of Colombo. At the same time, new investments coming into the country. How do we look at transforming, changing or adapting our HR practices on par with international practices to cater to the futuristic needs of the country?
Now, I have seen a lot of investors complain about the archaic labour laws in Sri Lanka. And then we have to have a holistic look. We have to look at the employee well-being for sure. At the same time, as I mentioned earlier, employee expectation. An investor would come with certain expectation in mind. So there has to be facilitation. I recall recently we had the largest virtual investor forum in Sri Lanka, where I spoke about Sri Lanka being #1 in terms of human development in South Asia. So we are the preferred destination for South Asia with regard to human development for an investor to think of coming and investing. So we have the excellent ground in that sense. But I think what we need to do is we need to change some legislature. And we need to have one-stop solution where efficiency is a key factor. Because I know a lot of people complain they are being sent around and they are being pushed around, so they get frustrated. So ease of doing business is one area where you need to really focusing on. From human resource point of view, I think the time has come for us to critically look at some archaic practices, and we need to be more productivity oriented, ensuring that people really do a decent work for the salary they earn, at the same time looking at their well-being. So a bit more balanced rather than more employee-friendly, labor-friendly laws, to change it a little bit to have a bit more balance. So that could be a good starting point.
Further, in response to the issue of the country's burgeoning public sector and what the country's probable solution could be to improving productivity to match multinational demands, Professor Dharmasiri says that it has to start with having a single focused direction that remains unaffected by political changes.
Why I ask you continuously about state enterprises is because this is a big problem. We talk about white elephant investments, we talk about state enterprises, bottlenecks, red tape when it comes to investments. But when you bring all these together, what approach should Sri Lanka take?
My answer is crafting the right set of strategies and implementing. I would say the big 5 strategy questions are very much relevant to a country as well. I mean, the answer to the question who we are, and then where we want to be in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, the strategic direction, irrespective of which government in power, who is having a particular ministry, unchanged charter where we have one strategic direction. And then where are we? A critical, honest assessment of where we are. And the 4th one, how do we go there? The crafting of the right set of strategies and executing them. And the 5th one is sadly lacking. How do we know whether we are making progress? The real key performance indicators, sad to say, Indivari, sometimes in the state-owned enterprises, the key performance indicators become key political indicators, where they are being manipulated. If those 5 questions can be properly answered, it boils down to that starting with leadership and together collective brainstorming, having the right strategies crafted, having the right strategies executed. Execution matters. Execution brings excellent results.
Do you think this can be applied to the state sector also, where there is political changes, political involvement? Every 5 years, employees are given a change of direction, change of mission, vision. Is this possible?
If there's a will, there's a way. I think rather than cursing the darkness, let's light a candle. It again comes to the particular leader of that particular institution, where rather than saying no, let's start where we can and let's make it